Hello, welcome to a new YouTube video. So this is episode 1 of a little series that I'm planning on doing, and that series is to actually learn more about machine learning, or actually just the data science field in general. But before I get more into that, I'm just going to give you a quick introduction of who I am. I am a software engineer from South Africa with a background in the gaming field. I make a lot of Web3 games. It's quite cool. But the main purpose of this video that you're planning to watch is mainly showing you what I am doing so far just to get started in actually machine learning. To put a preface onto what my skills are in machine learning, I have been playing with it for a while. I learned about the math. I used to play around with stats model, Tensorflow, stable baselines for reinforcement learning. I did take some courses around the actual RNNs and using stuff with like stock markets, but nothing too hectic. Nothing that was like concrete. I always ran the example stuff on TensorFlow, and there's also stuff like when you go to the main sites with like the TensorFlow playground. I'll come to that a bit later. But yeah, so what did I do so that I can actually start making a model with the eventual goal of actually making some educated assumptions and decisions on how to make a successful model based on the problems that are given to me. So what do you need to get started? What you need is you will need mainly Python. So make sure you have Python installed. To install Python, it's quite easy. Very easy. Just search Python for Python programming language. One of the two. So if you type in like Python install, just download Python org, you're all safe. And then second is TensorFlow, also quite easy to install. Then there's also something called Tensorboard. It's another tool. Just search how to install it as well. It's most likely going to be done through something called pip. Pip is a package manager. If you're familiar with like npm, it's like the npm equivalent of Python. That makes sense. Yeah. But the main purpose of this video is that I'm using something called PyTorch. PyTorch is quite cool. I believe it is made by Facebook. Or Meta is what they call now. Yeah, developers Meta. They're quite a cool bit of software. I find it much easier to use than TensorFlow, and also I saw a lot of videos. A lot of people tend to use tend to use PyTorch over TensorFlow. So yeah, I just went with PyTorch. Another cool thing that you will definitely need is something called Jupyter Lab. Now, you got a project Jupyter. Now, there's two things. There's Jupyter Lab and there's Jupyter Notebook. So, Jupyter Notebooks, are... So, Jupyter Lab, you have a couple options. And one of them is just to say pip install Jupyter Lab. I personally like this option. I don't really use the Jupyter Lab Notebook option. To be honest, I'm just going to follow these two. I don't know what Viola, whatever this is, or what Homebrew is. I don't use any of this. I'm on Windows. So yeah, I'm just following this build bit here. Now, when you install it, it's quite cool. Very, very cool actually. Is that it takes a lot of like the hard bits out. And like when you get into like learning about machine learning, a lot of people like sharing these notebooks, and when you first look at it, the shit's confusing. It's like, what the hell is this? How do I use this? Why is autocomplete not working? How do I add this markdown? How do I add this code snippet? It's a bit of a schlep. But yeah, so the command I just wrote now, it starts up a server, and this server will run in your browser, and then it will eventually start Jupyter Lab. It's like this nice little environment that's set up so you can just run your Python code. Now when you open it, it's going to look a bit weird. It's like, oh my god, what the hell is this? Now, the easiest thing you can do is just click this big blue button with a plus sign on it. and then Python 3 underscore notebook underneath notebook, and now you can just start typing code. If you press in 1, it's gonna show 1. If you type in the word string of hello, type in string of hello. Now you're probably wondering, what the shit? When I'm pressing enter, this shit's not doing anything. Granted, this is not a tutorial, but the basic way of doing this is you press shift and enter. That will execute the code. Which is quite cool. So I select def hello, and then I'll like print world. Yeah, def hello world. Cool. Cool. Yeah, it's quite simple. You just press shift and enter. I really wish I had that thing where you can like show your keystrokes, but I will install that eventually if I find the need to. Probably will if I keep on doing tutorial like videos while I know minuscule amounts. Yeah, but it's quite cool. So yeah, furthermore, there's 2 modes that I know. It's command mode and edit mode. So in this mode, currently it's the edit mode, and you are editing something called cells. These are all different cells that you see, and these cells can either be code or markdown. So currently when I'm writing code, I'll be like t is equal to j, cool, and then I can say what is t. It'll print t for me. Quite simple. Now what if I want markdown? What if I want to be fancy? I want to really label my stuff out, make that thing look clean and nice, make it look like the stuff that you find on the internet. So if you know markdown, this hashtag will be a cool little chapter symbol. Say you're following a textbook, and then now cool, now I got markdown. And all you do is that you press escape, you go into something called command mode, press in M, and you see the little top down button here. If you keep on looking at it, you notice that it'll go from M and Y. Press M and Y, it'll switch between markdown and code. And when you leave it on markdown, you press enter and you type in some stuff there like chapter 1.1, like a smaller heading. Poof, you got even smaller markdown. You can, even if you want to, take screenshots. And granted that this is markdown, paste that screenshot. So it's really cool if you have code and you reference a little bit of text, or you resaw a really cool diagram and explain neural networks really well. It's really helpful to do the screenshot. Quick one. Also, the screenshot shortcut that I use is Shift, Windows button, and S. It's really, really nice. You're probably hearing that ding sound because my mic is right next to it. But yeah, so to get further into it, I got this little thing called Titanic. If you all know something called Kaggle, Kaggle is this sort of like lead code social hub for like people who want to get into machine learning. Well, that's how I'm interpreting it. But one of the starting things you do is something called the Titanic problem. So the Titanic problem is that you get this data set. It has a bunch of features, and these features will determine whether a person has survived or not. Now, you can watch the video on how to actually submit to Kaggle. This is what the purpose of the Titanic thing is. But you see, the thing with that video is that they also reference other videos where they show you how to actually solve this problem. And those videos are great. They're amazing. There's even a whole bunch of other videos online, and it really helps you like understand how to break down data science problems. And I'm liking it so far. Now for me, I went a little bit overboard, and I tried to go straight. I'm not using no classifiers. I'm not using no random forest trees. I'm not using no like those voting classifiers and stuff like that. I went straight. I want to learn about a neural network. So let's see. So Leonardo, I call it Leonardo, if you don't know why. Yeah. So yeah, there I'm using some Markdown. I got mine as code writing. I got this thing called a writer summary. And I got this whole thing file. As you can see, my model is not doing that great. It has like a really bad loss rate, which is quite shite. But yeah, what I'm doing here is I'm just playing around with the scatter plot stuff. So I was trying to understand more about how it works. So yeah, that was quite nice to look at. But yeah, so if you want to get something up and running real quick in terms of a neural network, here's a couple things that you need. You are going to need all of this stuff. Now, I'll just quickly break through it. CSV is going to bring in CSV files. NumPy is for NumPy arrays. It's a really good package to use and understand how it works. There's also Torch. Torch is the PyTorch library. Torch uses data. This is for your data loaders. Data loaders are very important, as that they load information to you. They are what, instead of you just looping over the CSV data, it'll actually allow you to batch it, and there's a whole bunch of other cool shit in data loaders. And there's a bunch of books and resources that I'm using online that are really good. That show you how it works. And there's Torch in a neural network, there's optimizers, there's pandas, and then there's also this thing called Tensorboard. That's the same thing that I asked you to install earlier, because you have something called a summary writer, which is cool. It's cool. To be honest, I may be doing this in the wrong order. Maybe I'm jumping a few steps. But to be honest, this is just a documentary. I'm really just trying to show you what I'm learning. Yeah, but now it's quite cool. So what I'm doing here with the writer is that I'm making a Tensorboard summary writer. And then now I'm just defining the parts of where can I find this Titanic parts. So you got the Titanic part and the Titanic test parts, because you need something to test how good your model is, and you need something to train your model so you can get better. And you got something called define get dataset. This is a function just to actually make a pandas dataset. And all I'm saying is raw. I'm reading out this CSV. I'm saying, okay, there's a bunch of fields here that I'm trying to like one-hot encode. Probably not the right word, but yeah, there's that. Then yeah, I'm just trying to normalize one value for fair, because fair was like freaking like all over the place. Like, it was way too high. So I tried to normalize the value down or bring it a bit smaller. This is most likely wrong, to be honest. Most likely wrong. Then you got, this is yours for querying. I just don't want to find ages that are equal to 0, because it has like null information. Again, probably wrong. But this is just what I'm learning. Hopefully maybe one of y'all will want to comment on how I can do this a bit better, a bit more of a structured approach. But yeah, so at the end, I'm just taking this whole data set, and I'm only taking the columns that I want based on these previous little mutations that I've done to the tensor, to the pandas data frame, and now I'm bringing this in. This here is just me doing a whole bunch of scatter plots. I'm going to delete this now, actually. I don't need that. This here is a data loader. If you learn how to write these, I ain't like, it makes life much simpler, like way simpler, because you see this a lot in examples, and it confuses the shit out of you. It's like, how did they do that? Why does it work? And even when you use shit like MNIST and like that whole fashion data set, when you're using CNNs, they have data loaders already made, and you don't know how it works. But this is how you write. It's quite simple. You get in a init, a length, and a get item, and it just works. It's amazing. Now you also got something called a training loop. Now, training loop is what actually trains your models. It will get your parameters or your weights and your biases, and then it will alter that and edit it so that it will have this loss. So your loss is where you want to be versus where you are, and have some kind of optimizing function. And it'll make that smaller. Very rudimentary explanation, but that's what I'm seeing it as now. It'll probably get better. But yeah, so yeah, I just have a chain loop that has total epochs, a data loader, a model, a optimizer, and a criteria, which is like your loss function. The criterion is a loss function. They called it that in the book I was reading. But yeah, so you got 4 epoch and range total epochs. So epochs is like a measure of time. And then you got epoch loss for this whole epoch. How much what is the total loss? So you have 4 data and labels in data loader. Same thing that I wrote here, it's just nicely packaged. And then yeah, I had to do some stuff where I had to make it into float so it actually can read the data, and so that my model that's written with this Torch framework actually works. And then we have loss, and then we have criterion and stuff like that. So yeah, so I get the data, I zero out my optimizer, I zero out all the gradients because I don't want to take in the previous gradient. Apparently that's bad. So, I am recording again. Sorry, I was using BandLabs and I didn't know there's a 15-minute sort of hard cut. I didn't know that, but there is. But yeah, so where I was. So there's lost or backward step. Very, very important. Actually, I lied. It wasn't lost or backwards. It was the optimizer zero gradient. So you zero out all your gradients from your optimizers. And then now what I'm doing is I'm taking the data that I got from my data loader, which is like this batched input. In this case, it's only one. The batch size is one. And I take this and I put it in my model. I'm saying, hey, predict this. You'll give me a spread on output. Then I take said output. And now I'm putting it back into a loss function, which I'm label criterion. And then I get a loss. Now, the loss function gives me my loss. I do a backward step, I do an optimizer step, and then now I take the whole epoch loss and I add the loss for the specific data that I pass through my model. Very bad explanation, I know. Very bad, but I will get better, I promise. Myself. You maybe, I don't know. But then we got this thing called writer. Now writer, this is really cool. The only reason I know about Tensorboard is because I used to use stable baselines. And stable baselines, in a lot of the tutorials, they had this really cool board output that was like, wow, this thing is so cool. And it showed you how good your model was. Like, it put in like a nice graph and shit. That's why I like this runs folder here. This is where it puts all the logs for all the times you run it. And here I just put a nice little print statement. It prints the epoch, the loss, formats the epoch, and it divides the epoch loss divided by the data loader. And stuff like that. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Pretty standard stuff, to be honest. You probably, if you copy this, you're going to find this show on the internet, to be fairly honest. Yeah, so we're going to say train data. This here is where you're actually using this function, this training loop function. And as you can see, this is a whole lot of bullshit. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know what I was doing. I was just trying to play around with it. It doesn't do well. It does not do well at all. But I got to touch most things. And that was quite fun. That was even more fun. Like, when the shit worked, I didn't care that it was completely wrong. Like, literally went from 0.67 to like... Oh my god, this is a lot of scrolls. To 0.43. Like, literally, like, a random guess. You're just slightly better than a random guess at this point. But that will get better. So yeah. And this little bottom part here, yeah, I was just playing around with 3D scatter plots because I wanted to see how the scatter actually looked. But now I learned about PCA and like principal component analysis, you know, all that jazz. But yeah, that will be like another video when I fully understand it. Or maybe like now when I barely understand, I just want to talk about it. Just to get like a discussion going. Because, you know, it's like community of people, stuff like that. But yeah. So, what else can I say that you can look at? So, things that got me into actually wanting to learn this. Like a couple of years ago, I saw this really cool Mario video. You know the video where Mario is jumping on the screen and they have that like I think if I search like Mario AI video, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Mario AI learning. Video learning. I think it's just Mario AI. Yeah, Seth Bling. Yes, this is the guy. Yeah, it's this video of Mario learning stuff.
Welcome back, Seth Bling here.
Wow, that's quite cool. So yeah, that was quite cool. There was also watching YouTubers like 3 Blue 1 Brown really helped on understanding how like neural networks work. And one guy who is an absolute G is StatsQuest. Bam, love the guy. And there's some really cool resources out there. Like one that I found that was mad cool was D2R machine learning. It's like a community, like, and they provide like a book and like, it's really, 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 really cool. It's like a whole book that explains like a whole bunch of different AI concepts. To be honest, I'm lost reading this thing, but it's gonna make sense one day. And it looks really, really cool. Really excited about it. And The next one, which might be a bit of a spicy topic, but I use ChatGPT a lot, no lie. Not to write my code, not to like help me debug my code, but more of there's this thing that I saw in other AI videos. Like I'll binge watch a bunch of shit, and like I'm trying to describe this thing, and it'll tell me what the technical term is. So it's like really good Google search, like amazing Google search. That's what I'm using ChatGPT for. Writing code, to be honest, I tried using it. It's hit and miss. It's more miss than hit. But yeah, if you have any comments, please do leave them. If you want to send hate, do it. If you want to send love, that'll be even better. If you want to like and subscribe, that'll be even way better. But thank you. And always remember, greatness awaits you. Thank you.